Hey everyone, happy Thursday. Welcome to Virtual Vegfest Live with our partners, the Plant-Based Network, and of course, Triangle Vegfest and Vegfest Expos. And we're pretty excited today because we have Chef AJ with us from all the way from California. And I want to throw out a shout out to Sun Warrior, who is our Virtual Vegfest Live sponsor for this week. And of course, please go to Virtual Vegfest on YouTube and subscribe and comment, and you'll be entered to win a prize from either Sun Warrior, Follow Your Heart, Hodo Foods, or Crofters Organic. So please do that, and also shop on virtualvegfest.com because that supports our vendors to get us through this pandemic. So in 2015, I received an email, I'm pretty sure from Chef AJ. I think that's what happened. It's been a long time now, saying, hey, can I come to your event in Raleigh, North Carolina? And I was like, honestly, I didn't know who Chef AJ was. So I put it out onto the Triangle Vegfest Facebook page, which back then had like 1,000 people or less. And I said, hey, does anyone know who Chef AJ is? I love her. Shai said she wants to come. Should we bring her to, North Carolina? And they were like, yeah, that'd be great. So I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's come on over, come out from California. It was probably like the first big expense that I had because it was year 2 of the event, to bring someone all the way from California out. And then, of course, it ended up being like one of the most disastrous days for our speakers, which is the lessons you learn when you do live events, or in-person events, I should say, is that you learn that you should not have vendors in the same room with speakers. And that was a lesson that I think every single VegFest organizer has learned, to be honest. I've been an MC at other events where it was the exact same thing. And I was like, this won't work. I know that because I did it. So that was a very difficult speaking situation. And of course, I apologize, but that was a learning year 2 thing for us. And, you were a trooper. You got through it. And it was not easy because Gretchen Primack was also very honest with me about how it was for her as well. And she was like, it was difficult. And I was like, I'm so sorry. So this is almost like a makeup for being able to do that. And of course, as long as we're going to keep growing, right? So you'll be able to come out again and maybe do a cooking demo or something. So if you don't know who Chef AJ is, she's pretty popular. She's been a comedian. She's been on Johnny Carson, which ages us because there are people watching who don't know who Johnny Carson is, because I saw the bit that you did on Johnny Carson on YouTube, which was awesome. And I mean, I've purchased stuff from your YouTube videos, from your cooking demo YouTube videos, like the thing to make the potato chips in the microwave, right? That silicone thing. I've purchased that. Yeah. Yes, which is really, really cool because you cut the potatoes really thin. You just put them on this thing in the microwave and it can be layered because I bought more than one. And you've got potato chips without having to use any oil. Super cool. And then the potato bagels, a friend referred me to that.
Those. That's what we're having for dinner tonight. Yeah, I love the potato bagels.
It is ridiculously good. And I'll never forget that you came to North Carolina. I picked you up and I knew where you were staying. You were staying at Jennifer's house in the suite upstairs. And you were like, can we stop and get food first? And I was like, Trader Joe's, it's a familiar supermarket that's in California too. And I'll never forget, you went right for a bag of potatoes and a jar of salsa. And then when you got to Jennifer's house, they were like, can we do anything for you? And you were like, nope. You cleaned the potatoes, put them in the microwave, opened the jar of salsa, and you ate. And I've never forgotten that. So because
I think
people think they're like, go ahead. Oops.
No, I was going to thank you for saying that because it shows that I practice what I preach when I tell people how that it's not that difficult to travel as long as you can get to any kind of a store. And I really do what I tell people to do. So I really appreciate you remembering that. And now that you bring up Jen, does she still work for the Piedmont Animal Rescue?
She retired from the board and she has moved into a wildlife photographer. And I mean, she has her day job, which is like business accounting, but she has traveled the world taking pictures of wildlife. And right now she goes every weekend. Almost, I feel like she's there every day. And she's doing photography of bears that are the black bears in North Carolina. And because they all have their baby cubs. It's so cool. I'll make sure that she watches this because it's all about Jennifer now. So it's amazing. You can follow her at Jennifer Hadley Photography, and you can see the stuff that she's done from no joke, all over the world. So
The
whales
reason
to
I asked,
elephants. Go ahead.
that is fascinating, and I'd love to catch up with her. But the reason I asked is because I have a daily live show now that's been going on for several months at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and I'd love to feature the Piedmont Rescue if somebody is interested in coming on the show and talking about it.
Oh, definitely. I will hook you up with Lenore after this, because she's been on our virtual Vegfest Live, because Lenore is the founder of Piedmont Farm Animal Refuge in Pittsboro, North Carolina. Pretty amazing. And that's so cool that you want to do that. That brings warmth to my heart, because they mean so much to me. Thank you.
Right. I like to feature, yeah, I love to feature, people doing good in the world, and organizations, especially that people may not be familiar with.
That's like so cool. So if you tuned in to learn who Chef AJ is, you're learning a lot just by this conversation. And just to remind everyone, if you're watching, you can comment or ask questions in the comment section, and we'll be happy to get to them as we go through our talk. And I'm going to throw it at Chef AJ to tell you more about who she is, in addition to the show that you're doing. And you have a vast history, a vast life of living in the vegan world.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. So I'm the OG vegan, because I literally have been vegan for 43 years, which is longer than a lot of people have been alive. And probably my biggest claim to fame, other than being on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, which you can find on YouTube, is that I was inducted into the Vegan Hall of Fame 2 years ago by the North American Vegetarian Society. So that means really a lot to me. I have this beautiful award on my wall. It's a clock. It's this wooden plaque. So that's really one of the best moments of my life, other than being on the Johnny Carson show, because it was a total surprise. I was ready to go home. I was tired. I was no makeup, in a sweatsuit. And I'm like, please, can we leave? I'm so tired. And they go, no, let's just stay for the award. And then I'm like this in the back row. And they go, and then this year's winner is from Los Angeles. And I'm like, oh no, it's me. Nobody told me I would have looked a little bit better, but it was great. I remember Dr. Clapper congratulating me and giving me a kiss. It was very surreal. So I'm vegan. I love being vegan. I'm really one of the original ethical vegans. Of course, later on, my perspective changed, not just for animal welfare, but for human health, because I'm one of the few people that actually got fat and sick on a vegan diet, because I didn't do a very healthy vegan diet, becoming vegan so young at the age of 17, when there was no fake meats or fake cheeses or even plant milk in a box. And I could have done it correctly by eating the diet I eat now, like salsa and potatoes, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes. But I chose instead to eat a junk food vegan diet of Coke Slurpees and Dr. Pepper, and became almost 200 pounds as a vegan, and got the beginning of colon cancer as a vegan. So when I was 43, that was 17 years ago, I'm 60 now, I changed. I never stopped caring about animals, so don't think I'm not an ethical vegan, but I changed my focus a little bit. And thanks to helps with movies like Forks Over Knives, which were able to prove that the vegan diet is also great for human health, I changed my focus just a little bit, because I found just getting people not to eat animals for ethics, I maybe got one or two people like in 26 years. But when there was something in it for them, like, hey, I can lose weight. Hey, I can reverse type 2 diabetes or heart disease or autoimmune disease, all of a sudden people were interested. So that's when I went to culinary school and learned how to be a professional chef. I got a job as a pastry chef, vegan pastry chef at a regular restaurant. And then I started writing books and speaking at Vegfest like yours and many others, and cruise ships and spas, to bring this vegan message as many places as I could. And a lot of times I don't even use the V word, and that's how I get booked into mainstream places. And then I'll do my cooking demos, and then afterwards I go, oh, is this vegan? I'm like, oh yeah. Like, I don't, because you can't sell vegan to somebody that's not. It's a turnoff for people in certain things. So it's not like I lie about it. I'm proud of it, but I go in with a different angle into these places. I go, look, I can teach you how to satisfy your sweet tooth without using sugar, or I can do a cholesterol-free class. And they don't even know what hit them. The food's so delicious. And then they figure out it's vegan, and like, oh yeah, guess so, I'm vegan, sure.
Right, like you eat apples, right?
Yeah, potatoes, what people. God, the things you hear. Okay, so if I had a nickel for every time somebody said carbs are bad or potatoes are fattening or where do you get your protein, where do you get your calcium? I mean, I'm so tired, and that's why I write books. But it doesn't matter because you do. I don't. I was interviewing Dr. Esselstyn the other day, and I said, "Do you ever just get tired of answering the same question over and over?" He goes, "Look, you have to because people are coming at different points in their journey. That's why I feel like I just need an FAQ, and then boom, okay, I said it. I get impatient. I'm an Aries, and so it's like, I just told you that, so I understand. So that's why now I've kind of, it's interesting because I've been interviewed quite a lot in person and online, and that's fine. I find that it's more fun interviewing people, believe it or not, like being the Oprah rather than being the guest. And one of the things I did, and I just created this, and it's so interesting that because it happened for one reason and it continued for another. So in California, where I live, I believe it was March 19th, a Thursday, if I remember correctly, where our governor Gavin Newsom said that we were going to have to start sheltering in place. And before that happened, there was not mandatory, but recommended sheltering for anybody who's over 65. And they were told, please, before the law came, they said, please stay at home if you're, immunosuppressed or over 65. And I moved from out of LA a couple of years ago to the Coachella Valley near Palm Springs. And there's a much older population here. And I started a meetup group, a healthy eating group with about 300 people. And we were meeting at potlucks. Well, when this happened, of course, potlucks were stopped and gatherings were stopped. But a lot of the people were over 65. And a lot of them were people, they were vegan and they were also living alone. So, of course, loneliness set in. And so what I started doing just to target a few people in my very small community was I started doing a live broadcast using a technology called Restream, where I could go to Facebook and YouTube at the same time, just to kind of keep in touch with these people that were sheltering. And what happened is people started watching, and I couldn't believe it, like sometimes up to 800 people. And then I thought, well, you know what? I can't keep doing this as me. I have nothing to say. So I started calling a few of my friends that were chefs and doctors. I said, hey, you want to come on? Can I interview you? And now I've done close to 175 episodes of a show that's either daily or twice daily. And it's amazing because I have not only what I call them the usual suspects, Dr. McDougall, Dr. Greger, Dr. Furman, Dr. Barnard, Dr. Campbell, Dr. Esselstyn, the wonderful, famous vegan doctors. But I've been able to introduce people to lesser known people who are just is equally as dynamic and powerful. And it's like opened up this whole new world of veganism because there's more than 6 of us, there's like literally hundreds. And my philosophy is there's a lot of people doing amazing things that you need to know about. And just because they don't maybe have a website or a book and they're not a doctor. And so it's like the guest, like, okay, so almost everybody in the show is vegan. However, if somebody is predominantly plant-based and plant-based friendly, but has something to contribute, like yesterday I interviewed Elaine Lillane, the wife of Jack LaLanne. And so what I want to do is inspire people to show that you can be healthy at any age, you can be fit, you can eat mostly plants, preferably only plants. But I'm not an abolitionist. In other words, I would rather see less animal suffering. If I can't get rid of all animal suffering, I'd rather see less animal suffering, because I don't think it's realistic for people to go from the standard American diet, eating McDonald's every day, to like the most pristine version of a vegan diet. And I think I hate to say this because it always drove me crazy, meeting people where they are, but you have to, because you can't meet them where they're not. And so I've had a lot of fun interviewing people and just meeting new people in veganism that I didn't even know until they asked to be on the show. And then they're all over the world, by the way. It's not just the United States. I have guests coming on that you've probably never heard of, but I'm giving amazing talks on my show, like Dr. Greg Fitzgerald, just people that have bloggers, and it's just been great because there's more than us. There's like a lot of people out there, and I get to meet them and introduce them to people.
That's amazing, because you and I did the same thing out of coronavirus. We pivoted into doing something else, because this is like episode 33, I think, of doing this. We do them twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, depending on who it is and who can fit into whatever schedules. And it's really cool because 7 years of doing Vegfest, I've met a lot of speakers because education has become a real priority for our events. So I go to events and I meet so many people who are presenting, and everyone wants to talk. right? Everyone kind of like, this is such an easy format for someone to be like, yeah, okay, let's talk.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
it's great. And there's no travel, there's
yep.
no expense of having the speaker come out, and no delayed flights, no lost baggage, and it just is equally as powerful. And it's more accessible to people too, because I was just saying to my husband at lunch, one of the reasons I love what I'm doing now is it's free. As long as somebody has a computer. I mean, obviously, you have to pay to buy the computer and have the internet provider, but it's free. It doesn't cost anything to watch Chef AJ live every day or all the replays, as long as you have a phone or a computer. And I love that. So the information is accessible. It's available 24 hours a day. It's not like you have to pay for it and watch it at a certain time. And again, some of these presentations that these doctors are doing with PowerPoint, they're as good as if you were to go to a medical conference.
Oh, most definitely. It's really cool because we're part of the Plant-Based Network as well. There are partners. So the reach for this is again international, all over the world. Just the Facebook page of Plant-Based Network has 145 plus thousand followers on it, which is really, really cool. I'm honored to be a part of it and to help that grow, in addition to what turned off of that being virtual Veg Fest, and then the in-person events, which will happen again. They will happen again. We just need people to do the right thing so that we can actually see each other in person, which would be awesome, because that's where we'll actually make money. But other than that, this is fun. This is planting seeds is incredibly important, because you never know. You just never know when they're going to sprout. And it's true. I agree 100% that we have to meet people where they are, and in whatever their journey is, and not put them down because of that point in their journey. What if they're just doing meatless Mondays? It's okay. So, look, we have a question or a comment.
Amazing.
Says,
yeah,
hi, Chef
I can read it too. Nice.
Yeah. I watched your interview last night with a family from Louisiana. I wanted to ask you, have you ever offered your knowledge and experience to people and they have refused? It was a question you asked the family last night, and they seemed frustrated in their area with people shutting them down.
Absolutely. People refuse all the time. What's that old saying? A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. You cannot, they say it's easier to change somebody's religion than their diet. And it's not really possible to change somebody's religion. Yeah, you can't. And you get that all the time. When people find plant-based, it is like finding religion, because it's like it solves so many problems. If you have weight problems, it solves weight problems. If you have medical conditions, it solves that. If you care about animals, it solves that. If you care about the environment, it solves that. And you're like, wow, why isn't this on the cover of Time magazine? But people are there. And it's like they don't want to know, people, because if they know the truth about how animals are treated and what it's doing to the environment and their arteries, they might have to change. And people are so addicted to the foods they're eating, they don't want to know. That's like, telling an alcoholic, I think it might be a good idea if you stop drinking. Well, they probably on some level know that, but they're not ready. And most people aren't ready. And especially, I'm an early adopter. I'm 60 years old. I've been doing this since I was 43. Not since I was 43, since I was 17. So for 43 years. And there was nobody doing it back then. Let me tell you, what year was it? 1977. I don't even think I met my first vegan until I was almost 30. I didn't have anybody. I didn't have any boxed plant milk, so it's if you're going to go vegan, you picked a good time in human history, because it's never been easier. There's never been more information, but people don't want to change. It's like, they're just too addicted to their food. They really are. And that's what it is. It's an addiction.
And the food is in itself, it has addictive qualities in it, especially dairy. So it's why you keep going back. And sugar.
Sugar, fat, and salt. Yes. Dairy is, of all the animal products, dairy is definitely the most addictive. But even vegan food, for a lot of people, especially the ones that are struggling with their weight, the vegan junk food can be just as addictive. And who was it on the show? I'm trying to think, at one of the doctors, where we went back and forth with whether or not, the fake meats and the fake cheeses are good. And I think they're great for transitioning, but there's people that just don't transition, and they just eat vegan junk food, and they don't eat any fruits and vegetables in addition. So that can't be good if you're only eating processed food, regardless of the source.
That's true. And at the Peapod conference, one of the doctors actually said that the standard American diet is horrible for you, but so is a vegan junk food diet. It's
Mhm.
equivalent to just eating a standard American diet. And that was huge to hear, because everyone thinks if you just eat vegan that you'll be healthy. No.
I wasn't. And if I had known I was going to be an educator in the vegan space, I would have taken pictures. I would have saved my colonoscopy to show you that I had the beginning of colon cancer, that I did. I mean, there are some videos on the internet where you can see that I weighed almost 200 pounds. I didn't know this was going to be my career, but I see too many people going down that path. And, the thing is, if you're on an unhealthy vegan diet and get a lifestyle disease, guess what their doctor's going to tell you? Because you're not probably going to Dr. McDougall. They're going to say, see, it's because you're vegan. And it's not because you went vegan. It's because you didn't eat any healthy food.
Right. You just can't eat. I mean, as much as the Beyond Burgers and Pasta Burgers and all the vegan cheeses are fantastic, again, for transitioning, for eating maybe once a week in your diet, eating more whole foods, plant-based is the healthiest thing for you. And one of the things that we just did an interview with Dilip and Sarai from Code Blue. And that goes into lifestyle medicine, which you're part of that Academy of Lifestyle Medicine, right? Because
I was a member for many years, and I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Stanek on my show very soon. Her documentary was amazing.
Yes, we started rewatching it last night because my boyfriend hadn't seen it. So, while I'm running, my indoor Wii running, because it's what I do now. I put it on, and then like 2 nights ago, I put on Forks Over Knives because it's leaving Netflix yesterday. I think it left Netflix.
That's right.
So I rewatched that, which I hadn't seen since I think 2014, before I started doing the Vegfest, which is interesting because I was looking at going vegan. I already was. I'm not even sure, but Forks Over Knives is my go-to movie to tell people to go watch, because it's science-based. It doesn't have any gore, no killing of animals. Right. That's the big thing. Some of these movies are very hard to watch because there's scenes in them that you get upset. But Forks Over Knives is science, and it's got Dr. Campbell, who I love Dr. Campbell.
They're precious. And I agree with you. And it's less than 90 minutes long, so most people's attention span can watch that movie.
Right. And the main thing, and that goes along with everything that you say to anyone that listens to you, is diet. What you put into your body makes the difference in the health of your body. Which is, it's such an easy concept. And again, Code Blue, starting again, they say, you can treat every disease. 80% of anything that you can get in this world, you can treat with one thing, not a pill, not drugs, but literally your lifestyle, your exercise, your diet,
and sleep,
and sleep, right? And sleep. And stress, managing your stress.
Yeah, that too, yeah.
Thing. So meditation, yoga, exercise, whole food, plant-based foods, and sleep. Sleep will come more naturally if you feed your body well. And
if you exercise. It's so true. They're so related.
Yes. So what are some of your tips? Because I brought them up to start with, because I obviously watched your thing on the potatoes and I bought it. and then my friend posted she was like, I've got this bagel that has she posted like this whole obscure thing. I've got this bagel with no no fat and no this and no that.
No flour, no gluten. Yeah, that's one of my favorite recipes. You can, and all my recipes, yes, I do have books, but almost every single one is free on YouTube. Until I get it out. I haven't done every recipe because there's only 1 week every week. I do one recipe a week. It's called Weight Loss Wednesdays, and I have 300 recipes, so they're not all out, but I would say at least 100 or 150 are out there. But the bagel one was really fun because I can't eat gluten, and I really don't eat bread just because I used to be obese in the caloric density, but that doesn't mean I don't miss it or love it. And so what I did is, I don't even remember how I thought about this, but when you cook potatoes or sweet potatoes and then you refrigerate them, I learned this when I was once traveling, and then I had leftover potatoes and they got kind of mushy, and I'm like, well, I'll just put them in the fridge. Something happens with the resistant starch where this magical thing happens to refrigerated cooked potatoes, and then when you air fry them, they become the texture of bread or toast, and they're incredible. And that's what I would do to sweet potatoes. And I said, what would happen if I took a Yukon Gold? Because a Yukon Gold potato, it's perfectly round, and it actually many times it's about the size of a bagel and the color of a bagel. And so I cooked it, and then I took this little, it's like a apple course, and I put a little thing in the middle so it would have a hole, so it literally looked like a bagel. And then I dipped it in well, you can get it salt-free or salted, but they call it everything bagel seasoning. You get it at Trader Joe's, Sprouts, online. And then I air fried it, and I'll tell you, it looks, tastes, crunches just like a bagel. You could put on, Miyoko's cream cheese if you want. I like to put, believe it or not, salsa on my bagels, because we always, growing up Jewish, we always put tomato and onion on bagels. So salsa is just, it works for me. My husband puts ketchup and mustard on his, but they look like bagels. They crunch like bagels. They taste like bagels. There's no flour in them. There's no gluten. There's no salt. There's no sugar or oil, and they're easy to make. And that's actually what we're having as part of our dinner tonight. So it's a fun recipe.
That's like really cool. I watched it and I cheated, because like you, even in your video, you were like, you have to do it this way. And I was like, I don't want to wait till tomorrow.
Oh, you can probably do it from a straight potato. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. But you don't want to do it from a raw potato. You want to at least start with a cooked potato. Right. Right. Because if you did it, it would take a really long time. Yeah.
It would probably burn more than it would cook. You would not get your desired output. But I microwaved them, and then I cut them in half, and I used whatever potatoes I had, and then I dipped them. I have this seasoning from BJ's, which is an organic, has 1 million seasonings in it and no salt in it. And I just put that on it, and then I just threw it into the air fryer, and I was like, well, here we go. And it was salsa. So I was definitely channeling Chef AJ when we had this meal, because it's delicious, and it's
and you mentioned air fryer. I remember, when I first became vegan 43 years ago, I had never heard of an air fryer. I'd never heard of a pressure cooker, and now these are pretty common things in cooking in general, and plant-based cooking in particular, that make it even easier and more delicious to get healthy meals ready.
Right, because especially in a climate like ours where it's been hot. It was July, it's summer, it's supposed to be hot. It's really hot outside. The last thing I want to do is turn on the oven.
Yeah, exactly.
For 30,
40. It's I live near Palm Springs, so it's very common for it to be 110, 116. And the air fryer doesn't heat up the house the way an oven does.
Exactly. And it takes half the time as well. It's the coolest. It's fun. It is probably my most used kitchen tool that I have. And it's used almost every single day. If you don't have an air fryer, the next question is, well, which one would you get? Well, that's the difficult question. My advice would be, do not get the smallest size. It'll be too small.
It is too, you must say, wow, it's only $39, but you're going to get maybe the equivalent of 1 potato in there. I always say, get the biggest and the best that you can afford.
That is the best advice. Yeah. I mean, I went as far, I have a Go Wise, and then I wanted to get away from the nonstick coating, and I got this Vandaheim or something that has a silver tray thing in there, and without the nonstick. So, and then sometimes I use both in one night, because depends on what I'm cooking. It's like veggies in one and the potatoes in the other. Because yes. So let's go back into more your history. So we talked about the Johnny Carson thing. It was probably it has nothing to do with veganism, just so anyone who looks it up.
Other than the fact that I was vegan, it had nothing to do with veganism. Exactly.
Right. So if you go look this up, you might be like, what does this have to do? No, it has nothing to do with veganism.
Nothing. It just shows you how crazy I was in my 20s. If you just go to my YouTube page, Chef AJ, and look up Chef AJ and Johnny Carson. And it's funny because that was over 30 years ago. And just last week I was contacted by the podcast for the Carson. It's not visual. It's a podcast, and it's for people that have been on the Tonight Show, and they never wanted to consider me because, I'm not really a big name, and I was only on a couple times. And I said to them, I said, I really have kind of a nice story about Johnny Carson. And so they did interview me, and it was just such an honor to be able to be in that space again after 30 years and talk about that experience. But yeah, he was a very nice person, and no veganism involved, just to do a comment.
Actually, animal noises, but no veganism involved at all. And just so people who are watching, because I've worked in a company where Johnny Carson got brought up. It was actually in California, and the girls who were at that time were young 20s, just looked at each other, and the boss guy looked at them and said, "Do you not know who Johnny Carson is?" They were like, "No."
I know, nobody does anymore. It's sad,
Right.
It's like when I was growing up, these people, if you don't know who Johnny Carson is, you sure don't know who Jack Parr is or Steve Allen, because these were the people that were hosting late night before Johnny Carson and Joey Bishop, who were before Jay Leno, and who is, now it's Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon. But he was epic. He was really, I think, the best host there ever was. And when I do my show, I kind of try to channel him, because he really, if you really watch Carson, people that understand comedy, that have seen me on other shows, will see that the reason that my performance on Carson was the best that I've ever done is because Johnny wants the guest to succeed and be better. And if you really watch it from a critical eye of a person that understands comedy, you'll see that as funny as you may think I was the straight man in that one. Johnny was funnier. And the thing is he makes you better by who he is. And one of the things when I'm on the show, it's like, I always think, like, how little can I talk today? This is about my guests. My story is out there. How can I make my guests shine? I think about what Johnny Carson did for me. And that's what I want to do for people on my show, is to give them a chance like Johnny Carson gave me. And it's helped, because people that are unknowns are selling more vegan books now and having more people join their groups. And so I love that I can help other people, because I feel like at 60, I've pretty much created every great recipe I'm going to create. I've got the best German chocolate cake, the best carrot cake. I don't need to keep creating recipes. I have 2 more books coming out, and then I'm thinking, 4 is enough. Now I want to kind of give back. And if I can help somebody else, because I'm not going to be around forever. I mean, I might live a long time being vegan and being healthy, but we got to get some of these other people to carry the torch. And just like, because I love Dr. Campbell and Dr. Esselstyn. They're in their 80s, and I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon, but we got to get some of these young whippersnappers to start filling our shoes, at least for me, because I'm ready to retire if that could happen.
No, I hear you. It's very true. I think this week I actually thought along those lines, is because I watched, the Forks Over Knives movie and Code Blue, and they're in them and seeing the difference between Forks Over Knives and then the people in Code Blue, because they're pretty far apart in when they were made and people who aged. And then seeing Gene Bauer in Forks Over Knives, I was like, I think he hadn't started running yet. It was like really weird. He looks so much better now. Sorry, Gene, if you're going to say someone else about this, but you look so much better now than I was like, that's Gene. I was like, no,
he's so handsome. I just had him on the show. He's really handsome.
Yes, he's absolutely amazing. Yep. So he stayed in the house, and he was our 5-year anniversary present to Triangle Veg Fest. Nice. he was like, thank you. And I was like, yeah,
you have such great, you're really lucky, because you already have such great players already that live there. You've got Kathy Hester, you've got Howard Jacobson, you have Garth Davis now. There's somebody else that's vegan that either moved there, or I'm trying to think, but you got a lot of great people already that live there.
Yes, Nelson Campbell and Kim Campbell aren't too far away either.
Are close?
Yeah, right. Yes, they are close by. They're like within an hour of my house, and I have to reach out to people. I'm booking September for this show, so that's a nice little segue.
Is Jill Dalton near you? Plant-based. She has a wonderful cooking show, the Plant-Based Cooking Show. She's really good friends with Kim Campbell. I think she might live out by you. Yes. I'll find out, because she'd be a great one for a demo.
Carrie. Oh yeah, she's
amazing. So oh my God, she's amazing. Yeah. You'd love her recipes. She's a really great presenter. Yeah. I know. If I was going to move again, I'd live there. We have nobody here plant-based. Awesome. I mean, I don't think we have anybody here plant-based. Yeah.
Oh,
maybe a couple of.
This is probably one of my favorite places I've lived, because I'm from New York. I lived in California. I lived in Northern California. And then being here, I'm in my 9th year of being here. And North Carolina is beautiful. I mean, it's hot during the summer. It's decent during the winter. It can get freaky any time of year. And we sometimes don't have a spring, and sometimes we have a fall that lasts through December. Sometimes we have a summer that lasts through November. There's no way to know, but then we just look at it and go, climate change. Because that's the difference between what's happened from when I first moved here to now. The weather has definitely changed. But I mean, that's also, we segue right into the fact that plant-based vegan diet can help with the planet.
Right.
So, and that's incredibly important because we want the planet to be here for future generations. Like we're talking about, the people who we want to carry the torch forward, we want them to have a planet to do that on. And one of the ways everyone can help is to change your diet. It sounds simple, and I agree with you that it's difficult, but it's if you have someone to cook for you, like it would make things easier. And right now with everyone being home, everyone's cooking more. People are eating out less, and there's this opportunity to go and look at the Weight Loss Wednesdays, or to go pick up your book, or just go onto your website and grab a recipe and see how good and delicious the food is, without the salt, without the sugar, without the oil, which is like unheard of for a lot of people, that you can make something delicious without all three of those things.
It's hard to believe. And that's why I was so happy when I worked in a restaurant, because not only did they not know that the desserts were vegan, excluding all animal products, that I didn't use processed sugar, that I didn't use oil, didn't use salt. I mean, people don't know. They have preconceived notions, but if it tastes good, they'll eat it regardless,
Right. And that's the thing. I say food is the gateway drug to veganism, and it tastes delicious. I mean, it's one of the important parts of a festival is food. Not necessarily whole food, plant-based food, but even though Gangster Vegan was at the event, and they're all whole foods, plant-based, out of Pennsylvania, and the food was absolutely delicious. Oh, so delicious.
Wow. Gangster, that sounds great. Maybe I can interview them. They're called Gangsta or Gangster?
Gangster Vegan.
Okay, so you got them out. They sound like a fun interview.
Oh, definitely. Oh, that's Vinny. And he's a funny guy, because he wanted to get into my event a few years ago, and I was full. I was full of vendors and full on speakers, and he persistently wrote to me until I said yes. I was like, fine, I will fit you in. You can have like a little thing with Vegan Evan over here, and you can have a booth over here, and then you can just be. So yes, you have to be flexible. You just never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
So I one of the things I ask people who do recipes is, what's your favorite?
So my actual recipe. Okay, so my favorite or the best? My favorite recipe.
Okay, you can do both to make it easier. Favorite and best.
Okay. Oh, gosh, it's tough now that I have about 400 recipes. Okay, all right. Oh, God, this is, whenever I ask a chef this, they say, you can't ask that. It's like asking what my favorite kid is. I got to say, I don't have my books with me, but I'm working on my 4th book, A Date with Dessert. And all my dessert recipes are pretty much the best, only because, and I'm going to brag about this, because I worked in a real restaurant for 5 years that wasn't vegan, and I was making pastries. I was making German chocolate cake, peanut butter chocolate fudge cheesecake. I mean, I was having celebrities buy them. They still want to buy them for me, but I don't live in LA anymore, and what am I going to do? So, gosh, the new carrot cake that I came out with recently for our Feel Fabulous group in the Kick Sugar Challenge, it's like the best cake I've ever eaten. I just had the last piece as part of my dessert at lunch, and I just can't imagine anybody not liking it. And the thing is it's whole food. There's no flour in it. There's no sugar. There's no oil. It's made out of actual food. And it just blows me away, and it's just beautiful. Let's see if I can show you a picture on my phone, because it's really mind blowing. So I'm going to say, maybe I'll say that's my favorite and the best right now. Let me just show you how beautiful this is. I mean, I don't know if you can see that, but
I saw that. It's like so on your good. Page. I didn't realize that was carrot cake. Yes,
it's a carrot cake.
So what's
I might have a picture. Okay, so the cake part is made with oats and carrots and apples. And it's just the way I configure it that's so amazing. And the frosting is made with, here's another version of it. And it's made with, so there's a kind of sweet potato called a Hannah yam. And I feel bad for people that can't get them, because it really doesn't work as well with the orange ones. It could work with the Japanese, but these kind of sweet potatoes, they taste like cake already. Like they don't need any sugar in them. And so that the frosting, that's one of the main ingredients in the frosting. And then I macerate the berries on top. It's really an explosion of taste and flavor in your mouth. So I'm really proud of that one. And I did it as an homage to my friend, Dr. Doug Lyle, who loves carrot cake, but I'm sure even as vegan, he was eating a less healthy version. So I kind of created that one for him. So, I mean, and I'm proud of I love when I can make recipes that are familiar to people, like the bagel, like the carrot cake, that they'll say, this is just as good. I don't need that other version anymore. So that's good. A lot of my soup recipes, I'll tell you. So, all right. So maybe my favorite is the cauliflower bisque, because it's just easy. You throw like the whole head of cauliflower in the Instant Pot. You just you don't put anything, you don't have to cut it up. You like put it in there with the potatoes and the onion, the garlic, and you push a button for 12 minutes and add your spices. And it's just the most creamy and delicious soup. And that's one of, it's funny because the things that are the most popular with the people that make the recipes tend to be my favorite too. So yeah.
I've got some great comments while you were talking. So Alex is watching from Uganda. Well, that might take the prize for the furthest away, because we've had Europe, we've had Asia.
Well, Uganda is amazing because, they actually eat food in Uganda. I mean, I remember a little while ago, I was taking a Lyft ride, and my Lyft driver was a 29-year-old gentleman from Uganda. And even though he may have eaten a little bit of animal products, we basically ate the same kind of food. He was talking about how they can't even afford processed food in his country. And they basically eat savory breakfast. The grains may be different. It might be teff instead of oats, but that basically he ate a plant predominant diet. And so, man, that's so cool. Uganda. I love it. Thank you.
I know, that's really, and Angelita's in South Carolina. So
nice. I like South Carolina too. I've spoken at Hilton Head before. Yeah. The Carolinas are both nice.
Right. Yes. South Carolina is smaller than North Carolina is. I didn't realize that until I learned that recently. This whole COVID thing.
You have what are those bugs that they had in South Carolina that freaked me out? These big bugs. Do you have those too?
The flying cockroaches?
I think so. They're in summer and they're really big, and that's why you have to screen in your patio. Yeah.
Yeah, they're in Florida too. They're flying cockroaches, palmetto bugs, and we have non-flying wood roaches, which are the same size but don't fly. They're fun too. Yeah, it's not a pleasant thing to come open up and see in your kitchen when you get up in the middle of the night.
Oh my gosh, We have an interesting bug here called cicadas, and you never see them, but you hear them.
Mm-hmm. We have them too.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, thank you for sharing the carrot cake. I should say cake recipe, like not recipe, but that's your favorite. And right now
it's like whatever I'm eating today seems to be my favorite, honestly. Like and that's because that's the last thing I ate. So that's my favorite. Ask me tomorrow, I might tell you jam bars. That's another thing. I mean, I try not to write recipes that I don't like. I know that it's like you have to always fill a book with a certain number, but I'd rather have fewer recipes that I think are really good than just have a bunch of recipes. So my first book was toughest because I was starting out, but after that I said, if I don't love it, I don't want to put it in my book.
That's fair. It's your book.
Yeah. Well, I want people to like that. I love my lemon poppy seed dressing because it's, I find that the things I eat over and over tend to be my favorite. The ones that I'm willing to eat just about every day probably would be my favorites.
So how do you make the lemon poppy seed dressing?
It's really easy. Water, lemon juice, dates. It's on my YouTube channel. Poppy seeds and chia seeds and a little bit of mustard if you want. It's so easy and it's so much better than bottled dressings. It's fresh and it's not too sweet and it's not too tart and it's really good. Had it for lunch as well. See, you're doing this after lunch, so of course I'm going to tell you what I just ate.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I really appreciate your taking the time to even do this because I know you're busy and you're doing this too. So, and I know what time
this is great. But I learned a lot from your Vegfest, like when you were talking about, not having speakers in the vendor room. It's so true because you're not the first, person that did that. And, maybe there could be a playbook for all future conferences, because also even if you hadn't had the vendors in there, you got to also think about acoustics. When you have a room like that without carpeting, people can't hear. And that happened recently, I was at the asked to speak at Orange County Vegfest, and Dr. Joel Furman was one of the speakers, and so was Dr. McDougall. And they're great, but if you can't hear the speaker, it's not so great. And so, yeah, people have to think about that. And I've done 19 conferences myself, and that's why I probably have more tolerance for when things go wrong, because I know that if they can go wrong, they might go wrong. So, but I became very friendly with Howard Jacobson during that, because he was very helpful to me running my slides. So that was nice.
Yeah, Howard and Josh Lajani were on earlier on.
Love him. I interviewed the whole family yesterday. They're amazing.
Yes,
yeah, people don't realize there's more than one Lajani. Yeah, there's like a bunch of them. They lost over 1,000 pounds. It wasn't just Josh. Yeah, they're all great. I met them yesterday. That's the other thing. I get to meet a lot more people staying at home than I ever could traveling, because my reach is wider.
Oh, most definitely. And that was probably one of my most fun. Like, I was trying to cut it off at an hour, and people commenting, "No, don't go," because they're very funny men.
Oh my God,
they're just funny.
Bam, bam. I like when he says.
Yeah. So
and Josh goes. Spoiler alert. We were fat. He's adorable. Mm-hmm. I know. He's the best.
They did a thing at Triangle Vegfest last year, and then we did a panel on racism impromptu with Dr. Milton Mills as well. That Josh was part of, which is important. Oh yeah, because being growing up in the Deep South, because that is the Deep South in Louisiana, we grew up with hunting and still friends and family that hunt, racism, everything. So he was great to have on that panel to discuss that. I'd like to get that going again once I have like a better format to have more people. But that was recorded by Howard, and it was very impromptu. It was put together the day before with me and Milton, literally put together in 30 minutes and then pushed out, and the room was full for it. And I was just like, well, this is important.
I love Dr. Mills.
I do too. So you should totally have him on as well. He's really busy. So he was part of the plant-based spotlight of the Magazine for Plant-Based Network, which is pretty awesome, which you can watch. You can actually go read online if you so choose. So Chef AJ, can you share once again how people can find you and get in touch with you and get your books and everything?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, if you Google Chef AJ, you're going to get a lot of stuff, but I have a website, which is my name, Chef AJ website, and that's a good place to start. Or just if you just want my books, Amazon's a good place as well.
Oh, that's perfect. So again, thank you for joining us and for sharing. And I promoted this as getting to know Chef AJ better. And that's exactly what happened. Because as much as you were here in 2015, it was probably my most stressful event of the whole 7 years. And by the time the event came, I was done. And so that was, of all the years, that was my most difficult. So, and of all the years, it's probably the one I learned the most, and that you happen to be part of.
Right. So, well, thank you.
No, I appreciate you, and I'm glad that you're doing this too. So the more people we can reach, the bigger we can build our community, and of course pass the torch for people to continue to do this. And for everyone that watched, thank you again. Please don't forget to watch. Go ahead.
I was going to say what they say. Yeah, each one, teach one.
That's a great way to put it. I think I'm trying to say who's next week. Okay, so next week we've got Philip on Thursday, and we have a cooking demo with Robin on Saturday. Again, once at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for both of them, which is cool. Philip's in New York City and Robin's in Minnesota. And I'm pretty sure we go international soon, so that'd be great. So once again, as I close out, I always say this because it's important. Wear a mask over your nose, under your chin, cover your face. Please social distance. Please wash your hands. Please do everything you need to do to stay safe so that when we do get back together in person, we actually can see you and you're healthy and you make it through this. And also, selfish reasons, please wear a mask and social distance so that we actually can be in person again. Because until everybody does that, we're not going to be in person. And we're not going to have those events that you want to see Chef AJ live and eat her food at a cooking demo or just to hear her speak. Please do the right thing, care about your neighbors, care about people, and care about animals and the planet at the same time. And we can all make a difference and still be here, to have a future and have something left of 2020. So everyone, thank you. Have a great weekend. This is our last talk for this week. On Saturday, we're doing a community blood drive. And Chef AJ, thank you once again for
Thank you
joining.
so much. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.